There where it is, we do not need the wall. He is all pine and I am apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across to eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. Spring is the mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out. Hi there. Welcome to A Big Small World podcast. My name is Andre John. You may ask why the name A Big Small World. Before I answer that question, let's listen to some music.
Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze
There is no denying that technology has made the world a smaller place. Humor, triumph, sadness, and anger are easily shared via social media. The farthest corners of the world are more accessible now than they were 10 years ago. However, there is a telling ignorance of the nuances in the beliefs, culture, and practices of others that brings us to a paradoxical space. A world as big as it is small. The aim with this podcast is to pierce through the dense fog of stereotypes and explore the nuances in the lives of others. People we don't agree with, thoughts we scoff at, and societies we demonize. Man is by nature tribalistic, but the story of man doesn't end there. Or rather, it shouldn't end there. In this first episode, we would look at the concept of us versus them. The poem read at the beginning is an excerpt from Robert Frost's Mending Wall. It is a conversation between neighbors, one eager to put barriers between them and the other questioning the sense of the barrier. The poem, even though written a long time ago, highlights the paradox of our time. It seems the more science and technology tries to connect us, the more we find and dwell on the things that separates us, whether real or imagined. Let us take a look at our polarizing reaction to COVID-19. Some believing it was a left-wing hoax, others blaming a particular set of people for spreading the virus. What we fail to realize is what the poem captures. In this regard, we do not need ideological walls, but we have found some. The Chinese demon, one referred to coronavirus. My question is, if diseases like Ebola were as infectious, would Africans embrace the label African demon? How about we examining our modern lifestyle? Massive deforestation, encroachment into wildlife, overconsumption, questionable environmental practices, what we consider food. If everything apart from human beings should find their way on a plate somehow, some way, our response to this crisis and every other should be holistic, not tribalistic. Our reaction should be one of concern for all, not throwing a particular demographic to the wolves. He is all pine and I am apple orchard, the poem states. It is okay to identify we are different, that we have differences. But these differences should not mean we have to erect walls. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. This world is typified by us versus them, black versus white, rich versus poor, basic versus woke, sexy versus, not so sexy. There will never be an end to our tribal tendencies, but we can decide to factor other elements in our actions and reactions. It is just a question of empathy, a quality in its dying embers in a world typified by the overstimulation of our senses and our egos. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out. Join me next time on a Big Small World podcast. Until then, a little empathy is not too much to ask. The song featured was Jerusalem by Master KG featuring Nontable. Us versus Them was written by C. Andre John.